sa inyong lahat. Ako po si G. Tanji. Welcome to Film Fridays. I'm very excited for today because we're going to be discussing a film retrospective of one of my favorite films of all time, The Debut. Kasama natin dito ang filmmaker ng The Debut, no other than Gene Cajayon. Hi, Gene!
Hello!
I'm so excited to be talking about this film. I recently rewatched it, and this is all I have to say is that it's so filled with relevance even today. And I wanted to speak about the film because this is a film that every Filipino-American has to watch if you haven't yet. You made this film in 2000. That was 14 years ago.
Wow. It's been a while.
Yeah, so talk to me about how long it took to conceive the film and just the steps that it took to getting this film done.
From the time that it started, because it started out as my student thesis project when I was in film school at Loyola Marymount University. And by the time we actually released that DVD that you're holding right there, gosh, it was a grand total of about 11 years, yeah, from start to finish.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a very long time.
Well, I'm glad that 11 long years finally came into fruition and we've got this because it's one of the only films really that is a really good film that speaks about the Filipino-American experience. There's hardly any out there. Why do you think that is?
I mean, I have to admit, and a lot of the filmmakers of my era, you know, we were hoping that the film would, because this film, Rod Polito's The Flip Side, Francisco Aliwalas's Disoriented, all those films came out right around the same time, kind of a little mini wave of Filipino-American movies, and we thought that the success of those films, the relative success of those movies, was going to generate more Filipino-American films after that, but we didn't see that momentum continue. There's a variety of reasons, but I think a lot of people probably saw how difficult it was to get this movie made and decided, 11 years? Geez, maybe I'll go out and get a normal job so that I can actually pay the bills.
Okay,
you know?
So I know it took a long time to get this made and there were a lot of challenges. Can you give us, in a nutshell, an idea of the long path getting this made? Because I know it's a challenge, especially independent cinema. What more Filipino stories?
Well, you know, when I started working on it, I was what? I was like 19, 20 years old, you know? I was a junior in film school. And back then, you know, you're young and you're idealistic and you don't know how the world works yet, you know, and so I was very convinced that the enthusiasm that I was hearing and seeing from the Filipino and Asian American student community at the college level that I was interacting with, that would translate into support from the community at large. Unfortunately, that support never really materialized, not until much later in the process when the film actually was completed and we were actually showing it in theaters. But in the early process, when we were trying to get funding for the production of the film, for all of the things that it takes to make a movie, we didn't get very much financial support from the Filipino-American community. And so that was, a lot of that was my own fault, my own naivete in terms of understanding how the things work. But you know, we powered through. I applied for dozens and dozens of grants. We got funding from a variety of private donors as well as a lot of people working for free, which was very key. The thing that really got us across the finish line was, even though we didn't get direct financial support from like big ticket, large pocketed donors. We got a lot of smaller donations of time and energy and effort and people working really hard because they really wanted to see their image on screen. And so we had a lot of people just donate their sweat and their love for the film, and that's really what got the movie across the finish line.
So the community came together to really help make this happen.
Once we kind of like laid the foundation for it, it was one of those things where we just kind of dragged everything along with us. It was very much like pushing a boulder uphill. And we did that for 11 years before we finally got the film out to wide distribution around the world. And now you can see the movie everywhere. It's, to this day, the only Filipino-themed film to be released by a major Hollywood studio.
And that is a big accomplishment, Gene.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Pretty nuts.
Yeah, well, for those of you that are just watching right now, if you haven't seen The Debut, it's a story, a coming-of-age story that's set within the boundaries of the Filipino-American community, lots of intergenerational things going on, and it's just such a pleasure to watch even till today. So when we return, kasama natin si Gene Cajayon. Pag-uusapan pa rin natin ang the debut, and we'll get to watch a couple of scenes so that you'll understand what I'm talking about. Don't go away.